The ultimate vegan protein hack. I want to talk about, okay, I think I'm live. The ultimate the ultimate vegan protein hack. Now, the number one question that I get asked from people as soon as I tell them that I'm vegan is, where do you get your protein from? And I know that especially when I wasn't vegan, when I was eating meat, it was really easy, and I'm sure this is quite obvious, but it was quite easy for me to hit my protein requirements. It's because you have certain foods that are pretty much complete protein, like minimal carbs, minimal fat, and just let's say one day you don't feel like eating too much, but you still want to hit your protein goals. As a meat eater, it was, I mean, when I was eating meat, I felt like it was easier because I didn't know anything about vegan, the vegan lifestyle or anything. And that's often what people bring up whenever they say, where do you get your protein from? Because as a meat eater, and the common perception is that it's easy, it's easier. And there's no, because when you think of vegan protein, the first thing that comes to your mind, like the amount of times that I've gotten people ask me, like, do you eat tofu all day? Like, do you eat just lots of tofu? Do you eat lots of beans? And I feel like there's a lot of uneducation. People just don't know different sources of vegan protein, that there's more than one source of vegan protein. And I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about my vegan protein hack. These foods that are extremely high in protein that don't get talked about enough, and is honestly like a game changer. It has been a game changer for me. In the past 5 years of me being vegan, these foods have helped me tremendously hit my protein goals. Like it's gotten to a point where I don't even worry about protein anymore. I'm not going to lie, when I first went from eating meat to vegan, I struggled. I struggled to get in protein. I wasn't educated properly. I had just watched Dominion and I went vegan pretty much overnight. And there was a lot of things I didn't know. And when it came to protein, I was under eating my protein goals. I was under eating a lot because I just didn't know um, much about vegan protein, amino acids, complete protein, whole protein. I didn't know anything. All I knew is I needed to hit 140 grams of protein a day. And I just used to drink lots of protein powder or eat lots of beans. And I did lose a lot of weight. I did, build some muscle, but I was eating the same foods every single day. And it did get to a point where I was just sick of it. And now when people ask me, where do you get your protein from as a vegan? Because I've been vegan for 5 years, because I've trialed and tested, I love cooking. I've cooked so much. I know what the best sources of vegan protein are. And those are soy and seitan, in my opinion. Now, I know that when I say this, these are obviously high sources of protein, but I'm going to dive into the health aspects of these protein sources and why I do think that they are a it's a hack. It's a vegan hack, and I wish I knew about these foods or how powerful these foods were when I first went vegan. Now, soy. I've made videos before about soy being a superfood. I do honestly believe soy is an extremely beneficial food, high in protein, complete protein, and there's just so many benefits to soy. I mean, soy is used in pretty much everything that we eat from start to finish, but just how to utilize soy in my day was kind of a struggle because the only thing that I knew that was soy was soya chunks. And even though that I knew what soya chunks were, I knew they were completely high in protein. They were like 52 grams of protein um, for per serve. So I knew it was extremely high in protein. I just did not know how to cook it. And that's honestly all it was. If I had learned how to cook soy properly and utilized that in my time growing up, I would have relied a lot less on mock meats. I did rely a lot on mock meats because when I first went vegan, I didn't know any better. So soy, I do think soy is a superfood, and the benefits of soy is number one, it's extremely cheap. It is so cheap, especially where I am in Australia. Soya chunks from an Indian store, TVP, which is textured soy mince, is extremely cheap. And even when I went to India, when I went shopping, when I went out in the grocery stores, soya chunks are so common, are incredibly cheap. And even now, I'm seeing a lot of, whenever I go out, a lot of Indian restaurants utilizing soy, not even vegan restaurants, just normal Indian restaurants. I know soya chop is a big dish among South Asians, among Indians, and that's also incredibly high in protein. So all of these wonderful Indian dishes have been made from soy. So soy, if someone is struggling with, getting in protein as a vegan, I would highly recommend soy. I mean, obviously, if you have something like a soy intolerance or, eating too much soy makes you sick, which it does for me. Unfortunately, I do have a slight soy intolerance, so I can't rely too much on soy. I would have soy maybe a few times a week, but when I really need to hit my protein goals, it's so easy with soy. I either make a soup with TVP, textured vegetable protein, or I, you know, make something with soya chunks, make like soya Manchurian or something really that tastes good. I feel like soy, it's so versatile and you can make it taste because it's so flavorless. You can inject any sort of flavor into it, and it all depends on how you cook it. So soy and seitan is the second one. Obviously, when I went vegan, I knew what soy was. I was quite familiar with soy. I had soy before, but seitan is something that I was introduced to after I went vegan, and it's incredible to me how many people don't know what it is. It's incredibly high in protein. It's one of the S tier, one of the highest sources of vegan protein. And this has been the one food that's completely changed how I cook, how I approach my daily diet, how I approach getting in protein as a vegan because it's just so high in protein. Now, if you don't know, I've made it incredibly easy for people to go vegan and to have a bunch of recipes that they can, look to and get inspired by to hit your protein goals as a vegan. So I wrote a cookbook and I released my cookbook yesterday. The link is in the description box down below. But in the cookbook, even in the cookbook, I've had so many people tell me that they've never made seitan themselves. I mean, they've most likely probably had it when they've eaten out, mock meats, whatever. But in terms of how easy it is to make yourself, I think that seitan is truly a game changer, and it's insane that it's not as popular as it should be. Like when you look at wheat flour, there's so many Indian dishes that are used making wheat flour, and all seitan is the starch washed away from the wheat flour. So it's incredibly easy to make. It's incredibly cheap. So I'm just surprised. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is more common than I think it is. But seitan as a vegan source of protein, it it was a shock to me how high in protein it was. I have Lakshman, definitely enjoy your videos, bro. Turn my life around, big inspiration. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. Paul, hello. Hey, Paul. It's nice to finally meet you. But yeah, soy and seitan are the two superfoods when it comes to vegan protein. And whenever someone struggles to getting protein as a vegan, this is what I say: seitan or soy. And of course, it's important to emphasize that don't just rely on one source of protein for your whole day. Because as a vegan, you have people say, oh, this protein has, it's weak in bioavailability. It doesn't have, all your amino acids. But time and again, I've mentioned this a lot of times before, it does not matter. It doesn't matter whether your meal that you're having is a complete protein or not, because your body processes amino acids over a period of time. So, in a whole day, as long as you're eating from a variety of protein sources, you have your rice, your beans, maybe some nuts, and then you throw in seitan, you throw in soy in there, you're bound to hit all of your amino acids. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to have them for every single meal, as long as you're eating from a variety of sources in your whole day. That is the only thing that matters. And that's why I emphasize, don't rely on one source of protein for your whole day, because you will be missing out on important amino acids that you need to build muscle. So make sure you are eating from a wide variety of sources. This is what I do. So majority of the time, I follow a whole foods plant-based diet. So I'm having a lot of lentils, dal, and rice, and beans. All of the whole foods, all of the good stuff. But I know that with whole foods plant-based, it's one thing that I struggled with is sometimes, I mean, it's a gift with a curse, but it was hard for me to eat food because of how filling it was, how filling whole foods was. When I was trying to lose weight, it was incredibly easy for me because whole foods kept me incredibly full. I didn't even feel like I was dieting. But on the flip side, when you're already full and you still have protein needs to hit, it can be quite hard to sort of, hit those protein goals completely on whole foods, which is where seitan comes in, which is where soy comes in. So I would say 60 to 70% of my day involves whole foods, but around 30 to 40% involves, things like mock meat, which are processed. I don't, I do love mock meats. I don't have them every single day, but when I do have them, I do enjoy it. So mock meats, seitan, or soy. And these foods are processed, but they're all processed in um, different levels of, you know, different degrees of how processed it is. So when you look at soy, soy is quite processed. It can be quite harsh on your stomach if you have too much of it. But I mean, I I have soy. I've had no issues. It's when I drink soy milk sometimes that's when I feel maybe a little bit too sick. But in terms of soy meat, I've had no issues, and it just depends on the individual. I mean, it's completely healthy for you, but the only thing that I would say is too much of it can sort of make you feel a bit sick. So make sure that you do keep that in consideration when you are eating soy. But Satan, I feel fine. I mean, if you have a gluten intolerance, stay away from Satan because it's nothing but gluten. However, if you don't have a gluten intolerance, Satan is a game changer for vegan protein. So in this cookbook that I've written, it's a mix of South Asian dishes because I am Indian, a lot of Indian dishes, and the reason why I added in a lot of Indian dishes is because those are the foods that I was eating. I come from an Indian background. My parents are Indian. So growing up, I was eating a lot of Indian food. And I try to make this point as much as possible. When you're going through a body transformation, it the only thing that matters, the only thing that'll keep you to your plan, the only thing that'll keep you, in check, that'll keep you disciplined is your diet. And I hate using the word diet, but when I say diet, I mean the foods that you're eating. I don't mean it in a restrictive way, but just the foods that you eat will dictate everything. And my emphasis is on the foods that you eat in a diet should be foods that you would eat outside of a diet as well. So it has to be sustainable. So nothing like, your keto diet or, restrictive low carb diets like that. No, a well balanced diet that takes into account calories in versus calories out. But if you genuinely enjoy the foods that you're eating, you're going to stick to it. You're more likely going to stick to it. So keep that in mind. And that's why I wrote this cookbook. I have a lot of dishes that I used to eat, um, especially during my transformation. And it honestly didn't even feel like I was dieting with the foods that I was eating. I was always, if I was making a curry, I made the curry, no oil, or at minimum, a little bit of, spraying with oil, which I have in the cookbook as well. So a little bit of oil that's sprayed, but then I would measure 2 cups of rice, which is quite a lot when you think about it. And that was one meal. That was a high protein. And it kept me so full. And that's the key. The foods that you eat has to be foods that you actually enjoy, and it shouldn't even feel like you are dieting. What's your view on testosterone or natural supplements you recommend other than normal? So there's been a lot of people who've made videos on testosterone. At some point, I sort of bought into the hype and I really wanted to get it. Thankfully, I did not get my hands on testosterone because the science shows that even if, it sort of helps your progress in some way, most of it is just there's no science to back it up at all. I mean, if there was science to back it up, it would be way more popular than it is right now. I do feel like a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon to sell testosterone, but for me, honestly, it's just I wouldn't pay for something that that's not as researched. It's pretty much, you don't know what it's going to do. So I personally wouldn't spend money on testosterone. Natural supplements. So apart from the normal multivitamin supplements that I recommend, so B12, magnesium, vitamin D, things like that. Other natural supplements that I take include creatine. I mean, I've made videos on this. I feel like creatine is the only supplement that actually works. And if you had to pick one supplement, if you could only afford one supplement, I would always recommend creatine every single day. Make sure you take creatine every single day. I'm talking about supplements that boost performance, that actually has a visible impact on your training. Creatine and pre-workout is a bit more subjective. I mean, it's just caffeine. So I like to cycle in and out of caffeine. I don't like to be too reliant. So right now I'm having caffeine maybe 3 to 4 times a week. I just have some pre-workout. I feel like that actually helps me with my training. And protein powder, if you look at it as a supplement, I don't. I just look at it as it's a food. But yeah, if you look at protein powder as a supplement, it also is really beneficial in hitting your protein requirements. So, in terms of natural supplementation, apart from your normal multivitamins, creatine, pre workout, and protein powder, like you cannot go wrong with this. Bro, I'm at my lowest weight in 2 years. This is 165 and 5'9". I need to get to 150. Can you give me advice? You're awesome. Lowest weight in 2 years. So thank you, bro. Thank you for your comment. The thing is, I always advise people not to have a goal weight in mind. I used to think the same. I used to think, I want to get to 80 and I want to get to 85 and then 90 and then I want to get down to this weight. But especially because you've been your lowest weight in 2 years, I would honestly say ideal body weight or your ideal body physique is probably going to be heavier than you think. I always tell people not to have an ideal weight in mind, but have an ideal look in mind, have an ideal feel in mind. Because, you don't know if getting to 150, you don't know how you're going to look like at 150, but you do know, how you want to look like. So I would say keep going, bro. Keep, cutting, keep killing it, but have an ideal look in mind. Don't chase the weight scale. The only time the weight scale actually helps you is to measure your progress, whether you're going, you know, whether your weight's going down on average or whether it's going up on average. That's the only reason you should be using the scale. Because apart from that, why does it matter what weight you are? So have an ideal physique in mind, have an ideal body in mind, rather than, an ideal weight. And this applies specific, especially to women. A lot of women that come up to me have this number in mind they want to hit on the scale, but they've never hit that number before. They've never, gone through a transformation, so they don't know how they're going to look like at that weight. So it always makes me think how they came up with this number. But I tell them no. Have an ideal look in your mind. Have a feel that you want to feel, how you want to feel like. You want to feel healthy. You want to feel light. You want to feel energetic. That will dictate, you know, how your transformation goes. But if you have an ideal weight in your mind, that's going to mess with your brain. It's not healthy for you. And yeah, you don't know. Like I didn't know that me at 80 kilos would look the way that I do. And but I do. Like I thought that, you know, I would have to lose a lot more weight for me to be able to, see the striations, see abs and stuff. But no. So don't have an ideal weight in mind, just have an ideal physique in your mind. Because, we're all on this journey. We're all, going through it. We're all trying to better ourselves every single day. So I would say just enjoy the journey. If you have a scale, if you have this number in your head, it's just going to put you off. So have an ideal look in your mind and then just keep chasing that. And another thing that I would recommend is make sure that you are weighing yourself every single day, especially when you are going through a weight loss transformation. It's so important to weigh yourself every day. Not because you're not looking at the weight day by day, but what you want to do is you want to average it out. If you weigh yourself every now and then, that's going to give you a false representation of your progress because there's so many fluctuations that could happen. So this is what I would always recommend, especially when you're going through a weight loss transformation. Weigh yourself as soon as you wake up. Don't drink anything. Go to the bathroom and then step on the weighing scale and then note down your weight. And then do that for a week, for 7 days, and then add it all up, divided by 7. And that is your weight for that week. And what this does is it just averages it out. It gets rid of all the little fluctuations. And if you weigh yourself, if you do it right, if you do it at the same time every single morning, it'll be way more accurate than weighing yourself every few days. So weigh yourself every single day. So great advice. Have a physique in mind. I've used this golden ratio to calculate my ideal waist size in relation to my height and have tried to tailor my training towards his goals. That's great, bro. But remember, like you have to play with the cards that you're dealt with. So especially when it comes to waist size, it is quite genetic, and you can't really do much. But what you can do, like you mentioned, is take what you have, take the genetics that you have, and you know build the best physique possible with that. Like I don't have the smallest waist, but I can build shoulders. I can make my shoulders look a bit more 3D so that it gives the illusion of that small waist. That's what a lot of bodybuilders do. Bodybuilders, especially bodybuilders that aren't genetically blessed with a small waist. What they do, they just, make sure to work on the muscles that give them the larger upper body illusion so that their waist looks smaller. But yeah, keep killing it, bro. Have an image in your head and then keep striving towards that image. Don't look at the scale. I found your channel years ago on Reddit and never stopped watch. And Brazilian and the English language is a little hard to me. I could learn. Playroot, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think it's great that you are learning English. I That means a lot to me. I'm glad that I'm able to help you. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Playroot. I really have been solely focused on nutrition because I've been vegan for 4 years and I learned how to cook in vegan restaurants only. So it was high fat and salt, and that really made me swollen. Yeah, like I said, it's all diet. And the one thing that I would say is, especially with cooking, like you mentioned, and I feel like a lot of restaurants do this, especially a lot of vegan restaurants, sorry, a lot of Indian restaurants. Indian restaurants, in my opinion, especially when you're trying to, look for healthy options, they aren't necessarily bad for you. Why they're so high in fat, why they're so like high in calories is because of the oil that they use, which is why I always say make Indian food, but try to make it at home because you can make it taste just as good by using less oil and much, much, much more healthier. So nutrition is a big thing, and I think trying to reduce oil as much as you can is going to help you a lot in your progress because oil has a lot of fat, and a lot of people don't realize how many calories comes from just oil, but it only adds this much flavor, but it has this much calories. So taking out something like oil from your day to day, or just using a spray or minimizing your use of oil, will have an incredible impact on your transformation because you're going to be getting rid of a lot of junk calories that you don't even taste, that aren't even worth it. So it's I wish you all the best. It's fun. Like when I got into learning how to cook, when I got into learning how to cook vegan food, I learned so much. Like it was w- when I was eating meat, I thought I was cooking. I thought I could cook. I couldn't cook for shit. Now I can cook because there's so many plants. There's so many foods that you can make as a vegan that it's really improved how I cook. It's really made me more creative when it comes to cooking. So nutrition wise, I think it's fun. I think it's going to be exciting for you to, learn how to make all these healthy foods. Um, and yeah, and like I said, losing weight as a vegan is incredibly easy because you can just eat a whole foods plant-based diet, and that'll give you all the satiation and the satisfaction that you need because it'll keep you full. It's high in fiber, and yeah, it doesn't even feel like you're dieting or in a caloric um, deficit. I worked at a vegan Indian South Asian restaurant. They were Hare Krishna, and there was a after that all the food was blessed at before serving, but the food, coconut milk, all sources. There was an altar that all the food was blessed at before serving, but the food, coconut milk, oil sources. Yeah. And I've been to a lot of Hare Krishna restaurants. There's a lot in Melbourne. There's a few in Sydney, and it's a hit or miss. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm sure just like any other restaurant, they would be using a lot of coconut milk, a lot of sauces, and a lot of oil. The three things that you mentioned, and these three things are such junk calories. Like I just made a meal today using coconut milk, and just by swapping out like normal coconut milk with light coconut milk, you're saving hundreds of calories. So, anywhere that you can, trying to reduce or minimize or choosing the low fat, the low calorie option is going to be a game changer. So with oil, choosing a spray, like a olive oil spray, something you just spray on quickly for like a second on a non-stick pan. With sauces, like if you use your own chili sauce, hot sauce, whatever, you're saving a lot of calories there. And with coconut milk, yeah, choosing low fat coconut milk. I really enjoyed listening to Journey about stopping fapping and weed. I think a great video would be to show the negative impacts of fapping on the brain. For sure, that's a great idea. That's been something that I've spoken about before, and I've made videos about it before. I'd love to make another video about how that doing that really affected my progress and just my brain, my lifestyle. Um, yeah, I'd love to make another video on that. But it's pretty cool that, you worked at a vegan restaurant, Vietnamese focused. Okay. But I replaced the oil creaminess with hemp and cashew blends and sugars with dates, more salads and soups. I love that. Yeah. I'm not sure where you work, but the Hare Krishna places that I've been, you get a plate and you can choose the foods that you want. So whenever I go, I'd make sure to load up on a lot of salads, a lot of, in my opinion, the best one that I've been to was a place called Crossroads in Melbourne. And I absolutely loved it. It was like $7, all you can eat, and you can, choose the foods that you wanted. And it felt so warm. It was like it was made like from love. So it's good. Like you gotta make do with whatever situation you're in. That's all it is. Like I have a lot of people who tell me, I can't dedicate going to the gym multiple times a week. I can't dedicate cooking all my food. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm too busy. But don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. It's all about small wins. You're not going to change your life overnight, but little steps. So starting off small, starting off by eliminating, things like oil from your food, and then eliminating things like highly processed junk food from your lifestyle, and then focusing on sleep. It's all about small steps because like if you will wait, you're not going to just wake up one Monday and have your entire life in check. It's all about phasing out the bad habits in your life, and I feel it's the same with this. It's all about small changes, wherever you can, and putting yourself in situations where you can control your environment. And this is another thing, especially as a vegan, when you're going out to eat. I do understand that a lot of people struggle, especially when the people that they're hanging out with are not vegan. They eat meat, and it can affect you socially, but you need to put yourself in a you can't let your external situations control you, because I've been put in situations where there hasn't been any vegan food available, which is why whenever I go, not just to a restaurant, I mean, if I'm going to a restaurant, I would obviously check in the menu if they have vegan options, but even if I'm going to an event, a function, I'm not going to rely on that situation to dictate what I should eat. For example, what if there's no vegan food? Even if they know that you're vegan, sometimes, we're human, people forget. You don't want to be put in a situation where you have nothing to eat. So what I've been doing is just cooking my own food and taking it just in case. And if I'm dieting, I would obviously eat that anyway, but it's all about not letting your external situations control you, being in control of the situations that you're in. It was fine dining, dark gold vibes. It was awesome. They had guest speakers and seminars there on Ayurveda and religion. It was in LA, and I even cooked an appetizer for a Kardashian. Lol. That's crazy. It was just not health focused enough, and it affected my health over time because the long hours. I can imagine, man. I can really imagine, especially working long hours can have such a detrimental effect on your lifestyle. But I got to give it to you, man. I hope it's going good now. I hope that you are taking the steps to take control of yourself, because one thing that I've realized growing up, you have to take care of yourself and your health. Your work isn't going to do that for you. Your friends aren't going to do that for you. Your family isn't going to do that for you. So you have to just take control of your life. You have to take control of your health because no one else is. And that's the only thing you have. So, bro, I work 9 to 5 office job, sitting down in meeting and calls. So, how do I ensure for fat loss I get enough NEAT? Okay, bro. So, it's like a contact center, I'm assuming. And I used to work in a contact center once upon a time too. And in the work that I was in, we had wireless the phone things, so we could walk around on calls. Um, I would say one thing that I would look to do, bro, if you can get a stand-up desk, that would be incredibly beneficial. But I know that it's quite hard to just get a stand-up desk, and I know that not all workplaces would accommodate you for that. So the one thing that I would say is walk around as much as possible. So walk around, go, get some water, go fill up your water. And when you do fill up your water bottle or water, whatever, don't fill it up all the way. And I know this sounds silly, but I even do this at the gym. Don't fill up your water bottle the whole way. Fill it up just a little bit, just so you have enough that you have to walk back to fill it up again. I do this in the gym because it's just like a subconscious thing. Like I don't fill up my water bottle the whole way because I have to keep coming back to fill up my water bottle and my water bottle. And I'm getting in more steps. I'm doing more neat. So it's a little hack. It's subconscious. I didn't even think about it. But every time I go fill up my water bottle, just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, I have to walk there and back, there and back. Before I know it, I would have racked up, a few hundred steps just by doing that. So it's just finding smart ways to do that, especially when you're in an office job. One thing that I would really emphasize on is make sure that your posture is correct. Make sure that when you're sitting down, the ergonomics, everything, because your work doesn't give a shit about you. Your work doesn't give a shit about your health. So you have to make sure that you are taking care of your posture when you're sitting down, standing up as much as possible, going to fill up your drink bottle whenever you can. Is it true the fat energy is used only when you do low intensity training, like walking and daily movement steps? No, it's not true. So I don't know quite what you mean by fat energy, but the way I look at it, the way science looks at it, is it's just first, it's a carbs that gets utilized first when you're doing anything like that. Um, I would recommend low intensity training, not because it uses fat energy, because I don't, that's not true. It's still, it just burns calories. But why I do recommend low intensity training, especially going for walks, rather than, doing high intensity training, high, lots of cardio machines. I recommend going for walks, doing something low intensity like that, because you don't feel hungry afterwards. It feels natural. Going for a walk, it doesn't even feel like cardio, but it is. When I went through my fat loss transformation, I did zero cardio. The only cardio that I did was getting in 10 to 15,000 steps a day, not on a cardio machine, just taking my dog out for a walk. So I would always recommend low intensity rather than high intensity. And there's not much of a benefit with high intensity training. And with low intensity, there's nothing but benefits. Like you don't feel hungry afterwards, you don't feel tired. It's more sustainable. You can do it every day and less chance of injury. And it's just easy. It's beautiful. I would rather go for a walk outside than do like 10 minutes of high intensity training. As good as it makes you feel, there's science has shown that there's really no, um, it, it's not one better than the other. It all just comes down to calories in versus calories out. Have you lost friendships through your journey? I feel I had to make changes in my life and make new friends. Have you had negative feedback to your journey? How do you handle it, Lakshman? It's a great question. And honestly, if you feel like you're losing friends just because you don't want to support animal cruelty, I think you're dodging a bullet. I don't think those are friends you should have in the first place. That seems horrible. I haven't lost friends through this journey, but one thing that I've done is a lot of my friends are now aware, and a lot of my friends have spoken to me out about turning vegan. Friends that I would have never in 100 years expect to go vegan because they see me, they see what I'm doing, and I don't mean this in like an egotistical way. In the most humble way, I feel like they see what I'm doing, they see why I'm doing it, and even though it's taken such a long time, some people, it takes time for people to really align their morals with their actions. So if you're losing friends over you being vegan, screw those friends. I don't think you should have those friends in your life in the first place. No one should, leave you just because of your moral choices. And yeah, I feel like you shouldn't have those people in the first place. I would say try to meet more like-minded people wherever you are, whichever country you're in. Try to find the vegan community. Like when I first moved to Sydney, it it feels lonely. I will say this: it felt lonely because I was vegan, but everyone that I was around, they weren't. And sometimes, when they're all going out to eat or whatever, it can feel a bit lonely, but you have to stick through it. You have to stick with it. Because now what I've seen happen is there's people who've seen what I've done, they've looked at me, they've noticed me month after month, and now they've slowly come to realize how, that you don't actually need meat. It's not worth it. It's not worth, and they've started to think about the animals. So stay strong. I try to find like-minded people. I found a great group of vegan friends in Sydney here now. And yeah, the more you're around like-minded people, even if you're not around like-minded people, I would highly recommend, surrounding that energy just so you're motivated. For example, even watching this, even watching my YouTube channel, watching people like Ertlin Ed, watching other vegan fitness YouTubers, surrounding yourself around positive vegan energy will give you the strength to stay strong. And I'm really sorry that happened, but I hope that it changes. I hope you find people that are more like-minded and make a lot more vegan friends. But yeah, and if you feel like it's hard to make new friends as a vegan or even on your weight loss transformation, just go out, do more activities. Like when I started dancing, that's when most of the friends that I made in Sydney was through dancing. And even though they're not vegan, um, it's just finding like-minded people can really change how you look at things. It's crazy. Like the people you surround yourself around will change you as a person. So be very specific about the people you have around your life. Have positive people, um, like people who are motivated, people who want to do good, good-minded people, like-minded people, vegan friends. I'm sure you can find them in wherever you are, but hanging around more vegans will, yeah, I feel like that's the best case scenario. Will put you in a better place, will make you make much better friends. Like fat is essentially stored energy, right? So is carbohydrate. So like if you had high carb foods, your body will use that available energy source first and then use the stored energy. Yeah, so if you're having carbohydrates, your body prefers to use carbohydrates, and then second, if it's depletes all your carbohydrates, it'll use your fat, and last it'll use your protein. But don't get confused. This has nothing to do with weight loss. Just because it's using fat stored energy doesn't mean you're burning fat. Because no matter how you look at it, it all comes down to calories in versus calories out. You could burn the same amount of carbs and the same amount of the equivalent of that with fat. It would have no impact on your weight loss. Your weight loss would still be the same as long as the calories are the same. So carbs, fat, no matter which your body chooses to use, it's all comes down to calories in versus calories out. Because of the lifestyle that I have working in the office, can I not just do weight training 60 minutes and then do my step on treadmill for 30 minutes? Yeah, I guess it just comes down to whatever you have available to you. Um, Weight training for 60 minutes. And if, for me personally, I would rather do 60 minutes of weight training and then just walk for 30 minutes outside. Like I would on purpose walk to a gym that's 20 minutes away or 30 minutes away, even though there's a gym right across the road from me, because I have to walk back from there. So I would highly recommend just walking outside. But that's my personal preference. If you choose to just use a treadmill, um, but make sure that you know you aren't burning yourself out, just like go walk at a speed which you would normally walk outside with. I think that should be fine. And I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, getting a step tracker, something that tracks your steps, like an Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, or you can get a cheap one of Amazon for like $20. But this will help you stay consistent with the steps. Try to get at least 8 to 10,000 steps a day is my recommendation, especially if you want to lose, if you want to be healthy, especially with an office job, around closer to the 10,000 mark steps a day. What's your thoughts on intermittent fasting? I've heard many fast in the morning and eat between lunch and before 7 p.m. So I used to do intermittent fasting a lot. And honestly, I still do. And it's not, I'm just going to say it, it's not, it doesn't have any benefits to it. The only benefit it has is I'm someone who likes eating a lot of food at once. I would rather eat 2 or 3 big meals rather than like 5, 6 smaller meals. So intermittent fasting works for me because sometimes I would wake up, I would train fasted, and then I would fast for a while, and then I would save up all my calories and have 2 big meals. I wouldn't do this every day, but I would do this on days where I'm sort of feeling a bit more hungry than usual. And yeah, it has the same effect. It doesn't matter when you eat your meals. So you can have 1 big meal or you can have 6 smaller meals. It affects your body the same way. It has no benefit, one benefit over the other. I mean, eating smaller meals does have it's better for you in terms of muscle protein synthesis, but intermittent fasting, it, it's fine. There's no benefit to it. But if let's say, I I would do it. Let's say I was going out to eat with my friends tomorrow night. If I knew that I was going out to eat with my friends, we're getting hot pot or something, what I would do is I would fast the whole day, which is pretty much intermittent fasting, so that I'm saving up calories so I could really just go all out in that one meal. And ideally, I'd still be in a caloric deficit. So, intermittent fasting is honestly just saving up your calories so you can eat it in a short amount of time, which keeps you full. In terms of fat loss, it has no real benefit to you in terms of, intermittent fasted cardio. There's no real benefits to fasted cardio or non-fasted cardio. It all still comes back to calories in versus calories out. How much do you consider longevity and chronic disease prevention in your meal planning? Yep. So my whole thing is I want to. There was a time when I first started gymming. Of course, I wanted to look good. I still want to look good, but I wanted to, look good. I wanted to. It was more for vanity purposes. I wanted to look good physically. But now, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing a lot of people my age, a lot of people, a bit older than me, who are starting to have families and whatnot. It's a lot of the things that we do in our 20s will affect us in our 40s, in our late 30s, in our 40s, 50s, which is why it's so important for us to take care of ourselves, take care of our foods, take care of our physical health now, so that we can live a long, healthy life in the future. Especially with South Asians, it's such a big problem that back problems, like diabetes, all of these health issues that happen because a lot of us live such an unhealthy life in our 20s, and it really comes back to bite us. So everything that I do now is so that I can live a long, healthy life. And the foods that I'm eating, whole foods, plant based, naturally, disease preventing. Like heart disease, #1 killer in the world. Just by eating a whole foods, plant based diet, I'm eliminating, a big. It's really eliminating the risk for heart disease, and comes with a lot of other benefits as well. So everything that I do, everything I'm doing right now, even with stretching, flexibility, I want to be able to do the splits. I want to be able to be flexible for the rest of my life, for as long as I can. I want to train for as long as I can. So everything that I'm doing in my life, the foods that I'm eating, sleeping, training, is so that I can live a long, healthy life. Is so that when I have a family, I can look after them, can provide for them, and just be there for them. Just investing in myself and in them. So it's a big part. I saw this video on Instagram about how having high insulin stops your body from using fat as fuel source. So, like, you can be on calorie deficit, but if you have high insulin, you won't lose fat. Okay. I have to see that, but I've made a video on, insulin resistance. I'm not quite sure about that particular thing because no matter what, I'm pretty sure that calories in versus calories out, it's science. Like energy in, energy out. No matter what diet you follow, no matter what you do, it just always comes back to calories in versus calories out. If you're talking about insulin resistance, that's a completely different topic that I made a video about. But yeah, I feel like it's all calories in, calories out. Thoughts on the division in the plant-based doctor community versus Furman versus McDougall? Hmm, I haven't heard of that. Maybe I have to search that up. I don't know who these people are. Have to leave now, but please keep posting videos. Your channel is amazing. Wish you all the happiness, bro. Keep smashing it. Thank you so much, Lakshman. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best too. Thoughts on sprouting in jars? I think I might be wrong, a Simnet nutrition video on sprouting in jars. And I I have no thoughts on it. I have always wanted to grow my own mushrooms, grow my own plants, but I live in an apartment. I'm not sure how viable that is for me now, but yeah, I think if you can, sprout in jars, I think that's cool. I have no particular thoughts on it. Technically, you can be on calorie deficit just eating cake and junk food, but does that mean you lose fat? So, is it really about calorie deficit? Yes. So, I've had the does that mean you lose fat? Yes, it does. Because the way it works is you have your calories, and you can literally, let's say, 2,000 calories puts you in a caloric deficit. Okay, 2,000 calories. You can get all of those calories from cake, and you would still lose, I'm not going to say fat, but you're going to lose weight. But your body composition, that's what matters. So, calories in, calories out dictates the weight loss, not necessarily fat loss. You could be losing muscle, you could be losing, anything else, but you're still going to lose weight. But in terms of losing fat, that's where eating healthy comes. Making sure that you are eating high protein meals to fuel your muscles and to make sure that you're keeping muscle prevention, muscle loss at minimum. So yeah, like if you get all your calories from cake and junk food, you're still going to lose weight, but it's going to be extremely bad for you, and your body isn't going to. It could be muscle that you lose from lack of protein. So yeah, it's because it's still energy in, energy out at the end of the day. Amazing. We need you in WTF activism in town hall every Saturday. Lots of meat eaters argue on diet and protein. You know what? The conscious living, I'm going to take you up on that. I've actually been seeing your videos, and I would love to just talk to people out in the public, especially on diet and protein. I love talking to people about this stuff. Even though I talk about it so much, like I feel like I'm talking to because all the questions that people have are questions that I've had at some point. So I love it. I love talking to people about veganism. I love talking to people about diet and protein and just busting the bullshit around vegan protein. So 100%, I will most likely be there Saturday. Yeah, I saw videos where sprouting beans actually increases the protein in the beans and it lowers the carbs. Quite interesting. Well, I might have to look into that. That's really interesting. I did Joel Furman's certification program, and he advocates for GBO, MBS, green bean, onion, mushroom, berry, and seeds to make up for the bulk of your diet. So, okay, I might have to look into that. Squirt loaves, green bean, onion, mushroom. I love mushrooms. I would second that. Onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds, green beans. Like I eat a lot of onion. I eat a lot of mushrooms, blueberries, frozen blueberries, and seeds. So I agree. Like I put most of that just in my smoothie. What's so good about mushroom? I feel like mushroom is I'm just very passionate about mushrooms in general, and especially I feel like it's nature's mock meat. There's so many things you can cook with mushrooms, especially oyster mushrooms. Big fan. The only thing I'm not a fan of is how expensive they are, which is why I'm really looking forward to the mushroom season in Sydney so I can go mushroom picking. So easy, no soil required, just a glass sprouting lid and soak 8 hours and rinse twice a day and they grow in a week. Yes, I honestly, yes, my mom used to do that. My Indian mom used to sprout beans and she said the exact same thing you think. I think my mom was ahead of her time as well. But yeah, she said the exact same thing. She said sprouting beans increases the protein is much better for you. I've heard good things about shiitake mushrooms because it has high vitamin D. Shiitake mushrooms also taste amazing, especially in things like noodle soup. Um, you can get like the shiitake mushroom, the chips. But yeah, all things mushrooms, I absolutely love. Nuts you need to, yes, with nuts, I do know that, like peanuts, I've heard that you need to soak the peanuts to really get the most out of it. It's been a while since I've had just peanuts. I'm such a big simp for peanut butter. So now that you've said that, I might have raw peanuts soon because I love it. I love just having raw peanuts soaked in water. It tastes so good as well. All right, guys. Well, I am going to head off. It was really nice chatting to you guys, and I hope I was able to answer a lot of your questions. I love all the help, all the questions that have been asked. Do you know what is free testosterone? Free testosterone. I got a testosterone test done a while back, and I barely. Let me check. Free, and it had my free testosterone levels in it. Okay. Free testosterone. Most of your testosterone is attached to proteins. The proteins prevent your tissues from using the testosterone right away, which help control the amount of active testosterone in your body. Testosterone that's not attached to proteins is called free testosterone. Free testosterone acts on your tissues. How do I increase my free testosterone? Yes, okay. When it comes to I know what you're talking about now. So free testosterone, one of the things that I get asked is how can you increase your testosterone levels naturally, especially free testosterone levels in your body? One way you can do that, the most underrated way and the most important way is through sleep. So, just me getting my sleep in check has actually had such a big impact on my testosterone levels. And the best testosterone booster is living a healthy life. Things like sleeping, eating healthy, like training hard. All of these things plays a big part in your testosterone levels. But thank you so much, guys. I love doing these live streams and I hope to do one again soon. How many hours of sleep do you generally try to get? I generally try to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. And I know I should be aiming for 8, but 7 hours at minimum. I don't always get 7 hours. And I don't like it when I don't. But it's a work in progress. I want to eventually get to a point where I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. Thank you. Yes, 7 hours is bare minimum. So I should be doing better than that, especially because sleep is so important. But thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you guys again soon. I really enjoyed this, but we will talk again soon. Ta da.